Welcome to another module with Programming in C. I'm your professor, Professor Fiskey, and in this module, we're going to go over file input output. Now, please hit that like and subscribe button. It does wonders to let me know what content you're interested in. And in other words, let's get started. So, what is file input output? Well, what's input and output specifically? Long time ago, in a land far away, we used to use files to store data. No, I'm just playing. We use files to store data now too. And what you will find with file storage, with data is saved in a file, is that it's the most easily accessible, and it seems to be the fastest way to spin up a data structure that allows you to get data as quickly as you can. Now, why is that important? Well, just because in today's day and age we use databases prolifically doesn't mean that we don't read from files. As a matter of fact, with many configuration files like web.configs and the like, we read from files on a regular basis more than we ever have before. Because at a certain point in time, the files on the system that we're running our servers or running our applications on are in need of specific configurations to allow that application to run appropriately. Great. So that sounds great and all. But how do I read from a file? Well, it's actually really easy. If you come into your, and we'll get rid of our union code for a second here, excuse me. This will look very familiar. It'll look almost like Python. But if you want to create, or if you want to open your file, you need to create what's called a file pointer. Now, when you create the file pointer, it's important that we use the data type file. And then, just using Geeks for Geeks as an example, we can name that file pointer and then move on. Now, of course, you always know, for me, declaring something and not giving it a value is taboo to me. Because essentially what you're saying is that I don't know what I want to put in that storage location, but save that storage location regardless. Big no-no unless you have no idea what you need. So in this case, we're just going to use the function fopen, and then we're going to give it the file name, whatever that is. In this case, I don't have a file on this system, so I'll add one. We'll call this file db.json, right? And then from there, we'll say db.json. Please understand that that first parameter is not the name of the file. I'm going to say that again. This first parameter is not the name of the file. It's the file path. So if I came into here and made it a folder and said data, and then I took this DB file and I put it in the data folder, then I would need to come into here and say data whack whack. Why 2 whacks, you say? Well, because the first whack escapes whatever character is after it. You can see the D is now escaped. It won't print at all. So I don't want that. I want the the backslash or the whack to escape itself. And then I would say what I want. So if I want to write to the file, I would put in a specific letter. If I want to read from the file, I would put in a specific letter. If I want to read and write from a file, I would put in a specific sequence of letters. Just to give you context, I'll bring this down for your situational awareness. This is what I'm using as my guide for developing in this specific micro lecture. And you can see here that there are many different opening modes you can use to open the file you desire to use. Please understand that if you do this, it's very important that you also understand the security ramifications of opening your file in a specific mode at the specific time that you're doing so. There's some other things I need you to understand. If you write to your file, it will destroy the contents of the file entirely and write something brand new. If you append to the file, it will, I don't see append actually. I thought A was append. Oh, here it is. Append in binary mode. Okay, cool. So if you append to your file, then it will add to the last, it will go to the last line of the file and add a line beneath it. You can also read. You can read and write, I believe, at the same time. You can write and binary mode. You can write, you can do a bunch of things. But either way, if you wanted to, so here's some examples right here without going too deeply into it. If you wanted to open your file, you can fopen your file in the W for write. And then you could try to write to it, right? And then close it. It's very important that you close your file after you write them. Excuse me, 1 second. And the reason why you want to close your file after writing them is because you want to ensure that your file and the contents of your file are not accessible to any nefarious users that might want to do something to you and or your organization. So now we will say doves write. The file pointer has now been initialized. It looks like I actually do need to declare it first. So we'll say file pointer, and then we'll say pointer. There. Now that we have the pointer, we can write to the file. So in this case, we'll say pointer dot. Let's see what functions we have. I don't remember. 1 second. Ha! So if I want to write to the file, what I would need to do is ensure that I have my char string array in good working order and say this will go into the file. I will change this from JSON to text or TXT because JSON will require me to put JSON format and I don't want to do that. So we're going to say rename TXT. Great. And then from there, we will check one more time. That looks good. Here's my string. And then we can say fputs, which will commit the data to the file itself. We'll say strptr, and then we will fclose that pointer so we don't leave it open. Let's see what happens. So we're going to run it. We made this file, by the way. There was nothing inside it. Let's delete that. I don't want this guy sticking around. Delete. Great. So it ran just fine. No errors were committed. And it looks like nothing was put into the file because it created a new db.json because you saw what happened. I ran it. db.json was deleted. When it ran, it created a whole new db.json from the data directory. We don't want that. So here we go. It did it again. It didn't go to the data directory. So let's find out why it's not doing that. I think that has something to do with the fact that we are there it is. We are online. So if you are in a website like you hear with REPL, then you'll have to say /. But either way, this worked. Data / db.text, write, it wrote to the file. This will go into the file. Now, if I did this again and I said write, what will essentially happen, so I'm going to say files instead of file and run. What will essentially happen is it's going to blow away whatever's in this file and write whatever we gave it back to the file again. If you would like to append to this file, you would need to use A, if I'm not mistaken. And there it is. It made a whole new string right next to it. If you want to ensure that your strings are one line next to another, then you would need to use the new line character. If you're using Mac, it would be R. Either way, run. There we go. And now they should both not be on. Oh, yeah, that's right, because the first one was not on a new line. Run it once. Run it twice, 3 times a lady. There you go. And that's it. That is really all she wrote for file input output. So if you need any more help, I'll put some links in the description to give you some context for Geeks and other tutorials that I normally use and data dictionaries I normally use to get through understanding the syntax and the way things work in languages like C. Well, this is the end of our 101 lecture series for our programming in C. I hope this was very impactful and helpful. And like I said before, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to help me out. Otherwise, as I say in all my videos, good luck, have fun, ciao.